Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or likelihood is you might be brand new, so welcome to a video that's going to cover everything about Impress and orthodontic treatments. Even if you're interested in Invisalign, I feel like this video would be quite beneficial because although I will be talking about the Impress clinic specifically, I have a lot of friends who are on Invisalign or have gone through it, and there's a lot of similarities. So I wanted to do this video for the main reason that when I was looking at orthodontic treatment, there was no video covering anything about Impress because they are quite new. So I guess, I thought just that my experience might be useful to someone out there. That being said, I am not a dentist. I am not an orthodontist. I am a complete opposite. I work as a lecturer in marketing at a university in the UK. So pretty much the most opposite thing you can think of. So just bear that in mind. Everything I'm going to be telling you is just from my own experience and what I've learned so far about the process, but it won't be like a professional opinion, obviously. So I want to go straight into it just because I know there's a lot to cover, and what I'm going to do also, I'm going to instate all of these different chapters so that you can skip through different parts of the video because I know, it can be a little bit of a blabbering mess. So let's just go straight into it. I feel like you could all benefit from knowing a little bit about my situation and why I've decided to go down the Invisalign-like route and why Impress. First of all, my teeth in terms of their health have always been really, really good, touch wood. I'm so grateful for that. But yes, essentially in terms of like health and everything like that, I've been fine. But when it comes to the orthodontics part of this story, I have not been that blessed. I have a lot of issues that I'm working through right now with Impress. And as a disclaimer, this video is not sponsored or affiliated by Impress by any way. I do have a referral code like every single patient at Impress does. I paid for my treatment myself. So, if you want, just because it can give you £300 off the treatment, you can use my code. You don't have to use my code. Go online. There's so many people sharing these codes. So, there is a little bit of that just to kind of keep in mind, but by no means do you have to use my code. But you know that anyway. So my issues, yes, like I said, in terms of orthodontics, I was not so blessed just because I have quite a bit of an overbite, which has been actually quite nicely corrected even at this stage in my treatment, which I'll get to shortly. And when you have a big overbite, how the dentist explained this to me is that essentially your teeth always are kind of aiming to be kind of not touching, but that they are kind of closely aligned. So when you have like, instead of your jaw, let's say if this is like your upper jaw, this is your bottom jaw, if you have that little gap as you should do, and you have this, then what happens is this. So your teeth start pulling like inwards or outwards, which for me, they went very much inwards, which caused a really crooked smile. So you've probably seen some pictures of my smiles so far or beforehand. And I did have really prominent kind of, weird positioning of the teeth, and everything looked really small because they were tilted inwards. Which just didn't look really good. Also, I had a lot of issues with my overbite in terms of, this is so disgusting in TMI, but like spitting when you speak, or struggling to eat. So there's a lot of like things like that. Apart from that, I have quite of a bad TMJ, which I didn't know actually until going to the dentist, and then actually through the treatment, it's now the biggest cause of discomfort for me right now. But obviously we're correcting that as well. So as you can tell, there's a lot of issues, which is why, I've decided that it was time now. I mean, I'm 27. It's time to address this and actually, do something about it and just correct my smile. So there you go. That's a little bit about my situation, and I'll go now into the next part, which is just about choosing the dentist and how I've landed on Impress. Okay, so my search for a good orthodontist started in 2020. You wouldn't believe, right at the end of the pandemic. I just had enough, decided it's time to do something about it. And actually my first point was actually going back home to Croatia, because originally what I've been told is if you want to correct an overbite, you have to get fixed braces, which is completely not the case anymore, luckily. And then I kind of postponed, you know, the decision to get braces for a couple of reasons. First of all, if I did go with the fixed braces approach, I would need to constantly go back home to get them tightened, which was just not feasible. You know, as I said, I work at a university here, and, you know, I have to be here during term time, and I have a lot of consultations, and I'm supervising, you know, dissertations and stuff, so I just couldn't afford to do that. Second reason, also because of my job, I just really, you know, the idea just of that metal wire and everything just made me feel so uncomfortable. And I know that it's painful, not that this is not, but still, it just, I don't know, it didn't feel right. And I know a lot of people have a really bad lisp when they have, you know, the braces, and especially when you're correcting an overbite. So I just didn't feel like that would be a feasible decision for me. So I kind of then postponed it for a little bit, but you know, a couple of months later, I started looking again in the UK. I found a few good clinics that were doing, again, fixed orthodontics here, but I did really want something mobile. So I was looking at Invisalign, and I was looking actually at a lot of clinic like Smile Direct or anything like that, but a lot of them don't actually give you the kind of clinical experience. They are not as thorough about the health checks, which for me, you know, this is such a big deal for me. I wanted to make sure that I was, you know, monitored all the time, that there's a clinic, like a physical clinic with a real dentist that is going to, you know, keep track of my treatment constantly. And that is actually what led me to Impress, because even like on the ads and on the website, they're really kind of emphasizing the fact that you're supported throughout the entire treatment, which was just so important for me because it was such a scary thing for me to go into. So that is kind of how I just by accident, kind of through basically Google search, after looking at many different clinics, I decided to book an appointment and see what Impress is all about. What attracted me also is that, you know, the first consultation was free, and that they did actually do the orthopan. So when they do the whole x-ray of your mouth, and they look at every individual tooth as well. So they will never recommend the treatment unless you're in really good health when it comes to your, you know, teeth. So that was something that attracted me as well. I felt like they had a very responsible approach to how they do things. So there we go. That's how I landed on, sorry if I'm looking on the side, I'm just reading at my notes because I don't want to miss anything. But that is basically how I landed on Impress. Okay, so explain also kind of why I went with why I wanted to do more Invisalign style braces rather than fixed braces. So I'll just go straight now and tell you about the first appointment. So to make a first appointment, it's so easy. I've just done it through the website. I'm pretty sure you can call as well. Not sure. There's so many clinics. They originated actually from Spain, but they're very well established now in the UK. I've seen also on their Instagram that they opened across the States, I think a clinic or two, or maybe even more. So, you know, it's just a matter of, I guess, searching for it again and seeing what's close to you. My experience, so my clinic is in Birmingham, and, you know, first visit immediately just gave me so much confidence, which I will say that, you know, a couple of my friends, so one of my friends is actually taking the treatment and he's currently going through it, just started actually, and my second friend, she went for a consultation, but she didn't have as great of an experience as I did, which is really odd. But again, you know, it's not my story, so I'm not going to go into that. She just felt like, you know, it was more about kind of the money rather than the, you know, the, I guess, like patient care. But I had a completely opposite experience. So, you know, I guess it kind of depends who you see. But I guess that's the benefit of having that first consultation for free, just because it's, you know, you can easily say no, and it doesn't hurt to just get checked out, I guess. But for me, it was completely opposite. The moment I went in, they take you straight into the x-ray room. You know, they're so nice in explaining how everything works. And what they first do is they do a scan of the entire mouth, like I said, and through that, they can actually see through the x-ray, you know, the condition not only of your teeth, but also if there's any like hidden maybe cavities or anything like that, that needs to be addressed. They also get a good vision as to where maybe you're like, your wisdom teeth are, because sometimes with orthodontist treatments they have to be taken out, which was a threat for me, and I was so terrified of that because I'm actually really gimmicky with dentists in general. And then after that, they take you into the consult room and they also do another individual scan of every single tooth, and as they're doing it, they're actually generating a 3D image of your entire mouth, including the bite and everything, and you can see exactly kind of through an illustration how it looks, and I've just inserted that there. And immediately as they're checking your teeth and doing the full diagnostic, they're actually rendering what the straightening treatment could actually do for you. So before you walk out of that first meeting, you actually get to see what your final smile could actually look like, which again, for me, is something I really wanted to see. You know, it's so hard to envision yourself when you have a problem with an overbite and crooked teeth. How would that actually look like in the end when you actually have, you know, a nice smile, and what does a nice smile actually mean? You know, because that is essentially, you want that result, and you don't want to pay these thousands of pounds before actually knowing what it looks like. So I really appreciated that. I know that not every clinic does that. But it was really, I don't know, again, I just felt really, really good with the dentist. So after that, again, I had a meeting then with the dentist and the sales team, and then they explained to you the different levels of treatment you can have. So if you don't have a lot of concerns, they do something called like Impress Lite, I think, which is like for minor corrections. So you get like 12 trays, super like easy and fast. I am on Impress Plus, so it's the second highest you know, treatment plan, because I already told you I had quite of a messed up situation, so I just needed all the care, the TLC, to get the results in. So you know, and the price for mine was around £3,399 if I remember, and that is with some sort of discount. But I made a mistake because I didn't go online and I wasn't looking at, you know, other people like sharing their referral codes, because I could have easily gotten £300 knocked off that. But I didn't, and I paid that, and it's fine. I don't regret it. I think it was such a good investment. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. So first treatment was really, really great. You don't have to decide on the spot. Obviously, you can go away, think about it a little bit more. And if you decide to do the treatment, you can always come back, obviously, which is great. So I really didn't feel pressured. But again, you know, I guess experiences vary, who you see, who your dentist would be. But I really, really enjoyed my, you know, first appointment, and, you know, the professionalism. It was just really fantastic. Okay, so I've spoken about cost, but I just want to go a little bit more into that because I know it is obviously a huge factor. That is another thing why I never would have gotten with any kind of virtual, you know, mobile retainers types of things. As I mentioned, you know, the health safety for me was just a main priority. I wanted to make sure I'm doing something with really a good company. Second of things, you know, it's just, I don't know, they are cheaper, but I do feel like with these kinds of treatments, it is kind of, you pay what you get. So I know a few people who have gone with, you know, these virtual, I don't know, do your scans and everything at home, and then order a box of aligners. And their results were not as great, and after the treatment was done, their teeth would go back, and I don't know, I wasn't a fan of that. I knew that my situation wasn't easy, and so I decided to go down the route of proper, you know, dentist and proper orthodontic clinic. So, you know, Impress, it is, I think, more pricey than maybe some other clinics that offer this type of treatment, but at the same time, you really, you get your money's worth, and I'll explain that very shortly. So like I said, with Impress Lite, and I'm just checking on here, so essentially with the Super Light, so the lightest treatment they do, they are around just under £2,000. The one that I am on right now is $3,500. So, you know, it is quite pricey. But again, if you take a referral code, you can knock $300 off and you'll pay less than I did. And there's even more advanced for depending again on the severity of your situation. So again, based on everything I've told you, I'm kind of surprised, you know, in terms of my issues. Okay, I didn't have horribly misplaced teeth in my mouth, but at the same time, you know, I feel like I had quite a lot of work that needed doing. So, you know, I'm quite pleased about the the price that I was given. So, you know, it was okay, and that is kind of the price that you would normally pay, I guess, here for a fixed braces treatment as well. But again, that all varies depending on the severity of your situation. Okay, so we covered everything from looking at dentists, looking at clinics, going to Impress Clinic, the first health checks and everything like that. So let's talk about now starting the treatment. And I think this is kind of similar for everyone. My friend who started the treatment had a similar experience as I did. So essentially, after they do all the scans, They sent all of your pictures to a clinic in Spain, so their headquarters, and then the team there looks at your scans, and then based on that, they send you this like video animations of what your treatment would actually look like step by step. So like I said, I was on Impress Plus, so I have 44 aligners in total, and they estimated that my treatment plan would last for around 1 year and 4 months, which is kind of, I guess, traditional as you would expect with any braces. I am currently on tray 17, so, you know, I've gone through the middle a little bit. I did have some complications, which I'll speak about shortly, but essentially, you know, I have to say, I started in February, so it's been now 6 months. It's gone so quickly. And although, you know, when you start the treatment, the first time you put the trays in, it feels uncomfortable, it feels weird, it just feels, it's obviously a foreign thing you have in your mouth. You want to take it off. I was so close on the first time to just take it out and just give up on it. I'm so glad I didn't, because you really do get used to it. So, you know, just endure the discomfort and endure the pain. I know it can be more painful for some than the others, but I'm so glad I'm sticking through it. Is it comfortable? It's not, but at the same time, you're shifting the position of your teeth. In my case, I'm shifting the position of my jaw. So, you know, there's a lot of things you're doing here, which obviously it won't be a comfortable experience no matter what you do. But I do feel, you know, based on what I've heard from other people, I feel like this is kind of the best of a bad situation, you know. So it's not comfortable, it's not great, but you just gotta expect it and be, you know, decide if this is going to be, you know, if the final results are going to be worth it, basically. Which for me, absolutely yes. Even now, like 6 months in, I still have so much more to go, but at the same time, I feel like, you know, there's been such great changes, and I'm just so glad about it. So anyway, once you've done all your scans and the clinic is now looking and, you know, sending or generating that animation, what they do is they send you everything from your bite correction, from your upper jaw, lower jaw, upside look, downside look, everything. They send you all possible angles, as you're probably seeing right now. It's probably gross seeing all of that, you know, looking at someone else's teeth, but, you know, I'm hoping it's useful, and that you guys were prepared to see teeth in this video. But essentially, yeah, they send you these scans so that you can decide if you're happy with the final results. If not, you can say, oh no, you know, I would like to see this more tweaked, or I want that. I was really happy with mine, you know. I mean, when it comes to these things, I feel like it's either straight or not. So, you know, I was very happy with the simulation, and I was happy to go ahead. Once you give them the green light, they actually start making your molds. And that does take like a month or two. So it is a little bit of a lengthier process, but, you know, again, worth it. Mine came, I think, in around like 3 to 4 weeks or so, after which you actually, during the time, you also get a virtual conversation with someone from the headquarters, and they take you through all of the like care tips and everything you need to know about, you know, starting your Invisalign treatment, well, Invisalign Impress treatment. And then after that, you also go to the clinic with your first retainers, or aligners, sorry, and then the dentist takes you through the process again. So like I said, the amount of care that I've received from the, you know, as a paying customer, so not like an influencer doing a paid review or anything like that, I was really impressed, and I felt so good. Ironically impressed. So, you know, I really had a great experience. I can't say, you know, anything bad about it. And yes, you know, that first few days, it's a painful. I had times when with my aligners, I felt like my teeth are going to snap off. They're just sensitive, you know, especially when you're like sleeping with them. So you're constantly wearing them for, let's say, 8 hours or so, or 9 hours, and you take them off. If it's like one of the first days of your new aligners, they are so sore. But the more you wear them, the more you use your chewies and everything, it just works best. So let me tell you a little bit about that whole care system. So there is a lot of work that goes into this. Before you start your treatment, you need to have your teeth professionally cleaned. So they need to be obviously nice and clear for the aligners. It's not surprising, because if you think about it, these aligners are completely trapping all of the bacteria and everything around your teeth. So, you know, the risks of, you know, developing a cavity or something, you know, they are higher. So, you know, it's so important to watch your oral hygiene, I think, even more when you're wearing these braces. You're supposed to wear them 22 hours every single day, which is a long time, let me tell you. And when you do take a break to eat or drink, because you're not allowed to eat with these things, it does, you know, go quickly. So, and you're constantly kind of then thinking, okay, where are my aligners? How long did I have this break in? Okay, I need to like put them back in. And every time you do eat or drink something, my instinct is constantly to rush to the bathroom and brush my teeth. Just because I know that, let's say if I have a sweet soda or something, you know, obviously traces of that are going to stay on your teeth, and then you put your aligners back in and you're trapping all of that bad stuff on your teeth. And like I said, I'm so maybe even like overly careful about the health of my teeth, or worried about it. But I just think it's better to be safe than sorry. So I just, every time I have even like a Coke or something, I'll just rush to the bathroom, quickly brush my teeth, and then put my aligners back in. Once you put your aligners in, you also have to use something that's called a chewy, which is literally like this little piece of plastic that you essentially just chew on for around 10 minutes every single day. And what that does is ensure that your aligners are fitting properly. If you don't do it, it's likely that you might develop like these little gaps, which essentially then obviously mean that you need to wear your aligners for longer. So chewies have to be your best friend. So just, you know, if you're bored in front of the TV or something, just like chew on them with your aligners in, and that does kind of help a lot with just keeping obviously everything nice and tight on the teeth. And then what you need to do, so every single week on the set time, your app, you do have this app which essentially tracks your progress, and every single week through the app you need to send a scan of your teeth. It's so easy. So essentially you just position it either in front of the mirror. I usually just ask Miss Love, my partner, to take it for me, where essentially it's a really close-up view of your smile from the front with your aligners on, from the side with your aligners on, from the other side with the aligners on, then the same thing without the aligners on, and then your bite, so closed mouth, you have this like stretch thing. It's so funny. With your obviously mouth closed, and then looking at all of the different sides, and that then goes to your doctor. They check the scans, and then they tell you if you can change onto the next aligner set or not. So like I said, you're constantly looked at and looked after by the Impress team, and it's so great. And another function of the app that I really love and appreciate is the chat function. They respond so quickly, even like in the evenings, even on weekends. If you have a concern or something's not right, or let's say one of your attachments fall off, which I'll speak about in a second, you can just message them and they'll tell you kind of what it is, or if you need to come in or anything at all. You have kind of like your mobile dentist with you at all times. They're also available on WhatsApp, so it's literally any kind of support you need at any time. They've all been so lovely. I can't stress that enough. Okay, let me tell you now a little bit more about the attachments. So when you start off your treatment, this was the case for me and for my friend, and I do think it's a normal kind of process. So if you essentially start a treatment, the first few trays, you're unlikely going to have attachments which are added in the clinic. They probably want to just give you a bit of time to get used to the trays, you know, and how they feel and everything without adding the extra pressure. And then when they see that there's actually starting to have movement with the teeth, they call you into a clinic and they actually will attach these like little clear connectors so you can kind of see them to your teeth. And what these do, essentially, they will add a little bit of extra pressure onto the aligner so that your teeth will essentially move a little bit quicker. They are really discreet. I'm quite like happy with the attachments. You will notice on this one, I have a bit of a weird thing which is called a button, and I'll explain what the button does. But these attachments, they're really clear. The only metal kind of components I have are here on the bottom, which are essentially little hooks, because every single aligner right in the front has two little slits where you put the rubber band so I can pull them back, and that essentially brings my bottom jaw, because I said I had an overbite, so my bottom jaw is a little bit behind, or quite a bit behind. So essentially the rubber bands then hold my bottom jaw, and they've been consistently applying pressure to pull it out. So it's kind of aligning your jaw. I actually, with the rubber bands for the bite, I've actually seen the biggest difference the quickest. So I feel like, you know, in terms of my teeth, there's still so much work that needs to be done, but, you know, I'm not even halfway through, so that's obviously, you know, going to be the case. But I feel like the rubber bands immediately did such a huge difference on my bite. Like even within a couple of weeks, I could see a massive difference. And the parts where I've seen the most difference is obviously, yes, the look, but you know, how much easier it is to eat when I don't have my braces in. I'm so much clearer when I speak. I spit less when I speak as well, which is kind of TMI, but I do think, you know, it's probably a common concern for people. So I thought, you know, it might be worth it. What else? Overall, just in general, you know, the positioning of everything feels better. So, you know, that was such a quick difference, and considering the overbite was my main concern, I'm so happy with that, you know, you see the results so quickly. Normally I would still have them on, but like I said, I did have some complications where basically my third tooth was not very cooperative and would not kind of fall into the position that it should have in, you know, by this point. But because you're constantly looked after so well, my doctor kind of saw that really quickly and decided to actually install what is called a button. Now, the button is essentially, it's a mix of a plastic and metal component. So they put a little attachment, which looks like a little plastic hook, onto the teeth at the top. And then behind, you have like this little metal spike, which sounds really scary, and it's not the most comfortable. But at the same time, it does a good job by using, again, the rubber band. So I have two sets of bands on that one tooth, so hooking from the front to the back. And that essentially holds your tooth in position. And it's applying extra pressure to try and extract it out a little bit more to fall into the right place where it should be. So this is not something I'm going to be hopefully wearing for long. It should be only 2 weeks, after which I have another clinic appointment, and after which hopefully they'll remove it and I'll be able to change into tray 18. So, you know, there's obviously sometimes things may not go right because it is such an individual thing, and sometimes your teeth will cooperate better than other times. But, you know, again, imagine if this happened and I didn't have access to a clinic. I could have gotten through all of my trays, you know, with a virtual, let's say, provider, and, you know, a lot of these things wouldn't get caught. So, you know, I really do appreciate all of that extra support. I think I've mentioned it 100 times now, but, you know, it is really, really important. One other thing you're likely going to have to go through as a part of your treatment is something called an IPR. And it is, for me, even though the treatment is quite uncomfortable at times, IPR was the worst thing as in the whole experience. So you go through IPR, you're golden, you're fine, you can, you know, sail away through the smooth sea, but IPR is, pardon my French, but it is so IPR is essentially when they use like this little kind of saw. It looks like a blade kind of thing, or sometimes they will use like a actual kind of saw machine for it, like a little dentistry one, obviously not a real one. That is the best as me as an unprofessional can explain that. And what they're doing, they're shaving the outside enamel of chosen teeth that are causing you problems. So obviously as teeth kind of shift, the position of them or the shape of them may not be the right shape to actually fit into nicely aligned smile line. So essentially what they do, they shave off the outside layer of the enamel. It's, I think, just a millimeter or a little bit more per tooth, depending on, they will know obviously what needs to be done. And what that does is essentially allows for the teeth to align nicely, and you'll avoid something called black triangles as well, which is essentially because most teeth are a little bit more narrow at the top than they are at the bottom. And if you align them like that, what sometimes happens is at the top you'll get like these little black triangle shapes, which is just basically spaces in your teeth. Which kind of takes away from the aesthetics of your teeth, and in general sometimes it makes it harder to clean with flossing and everything like that. So they do the IPR to shave off the enamel to ensure that your teeth will fit nicely together. I had to have IPR done twice. So first one was, I think, on week 6 or 7 when I was getting my attachments, and that was done with the actual machine. It was really uncomfortable. There was a lot of blood because obviously they need to go quite high up towards your gums. And it lasted only a couple of minutes, so, you know, it's not a big deal, it's not huge. But if you're like me and you're terrified of dentists and everything they do, then, you know, it will maybe make you a little bit kind of uncomfortable. But again, my dentists were always so great. The doctors were just brilliant. So, you know, they gave me a break when I needed to. They were constantly checking in. And, you know, there is blood, so it's uncomfortable, but they give you something straight away to make it stop. So, you know, it's like a long thing. You just have to endure it for a couple of minutes. Second time, they've done it just with like this little kind of blade looking thing, and they just go between your teeth. I think honestly the worst part of it is, yes, sure, the blood, and that, you know, it is a little bit disgusting, but second part of it is I think the sound, because you can actually hear them with the blade kind of really shaving off the outside layer of your teeth, which is just, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But full transparency, just so you're aware kind of what goes into the treatment. My friend who started the treatment had it after his cleaning, so when he started doing the treatment, and he said that he didn't really enjoy the IPR either, so obviously that's not a great thing. But considering it's only a couple of minutes and I'm telling you that it's the worst part of the treatment for me, hopefully that tells you, you know, enough. So you just gotta push through it. It will be worth it in the end. But yeah, not the most comfortable thing. Okay, and the final part I wanted to talk about is actually the TMJ issues. So if you do have TMJ issues, and if you're fixing your bite through an orthodontics treatment, it's likely your TMJ issues will be resolved, or hopefully would be resolved through the use of the treatment as well, because obviously when you are aligning your bite, then you are changing the position of your jaw as well. So at first, like I said, when I started wearing the bands to correct my overbite, I've seen really dramatic results quite quickly. But what I noticed in that process, especially the past couple of weeks, is that if I'm talking a lot, or if I'm like eating something, or if by any chance I like just open my mouth wider than you conventionally would, I start getting really weird clicking sounds, and my jaw will start to cramp up so much. And my doctor did explain to me not to worry about it too much, just because first of all, obviously we are realigning the jaw, and secondly, she said with the aligners it is likely that people are putting a bit more pressure when they're biting, so all that does kind of affect the muscles around here, which makes symptoms of TMJ worse. So I did have a couple of days where it was so painful. It gives me a headache, it hurts kind of around the ear area, so it's just so weird, and you know, really uncomfortable. It did, you know, you can take painkillers for it, so it's not like a major thing, but at the same time, that is something that's been quite of an issue for me recently. I've been used to my aligners, so even now when they hurt, you know, it's such a normal pain, which sounds weird, but you know, you just kind of get used to it, you know why it's there, and you know what's causing it. Versus with the TMJ, it just came out of nowhere, and it was really, really uncomfortable. But again, they did tell me it's a part of the treatment. They reassured me that everything's going well, so hopefully the kind of more in position my jaw actually falls in, it's going to be better. It's also a little bit crooked for me, so you know, it's all a little bit kind of messy, but obviously we are working on correcting that, so that makes me feel a little bit better. So there we go. I think that takes us to the end of this video. I think I will do one later in the future. Hopefully no more complications by then, and you can see more of my progress. But so far, super happy. There's been, you know, ups and downs on this journey, which, you know, I kind of expected. So, you know, it's nothing I wasn't prepared for. What to say to conclude this? It's an expensive venture. For me, absolutely worth it. My quality of life definitely is going to be dramatically impacted by this in a positive way. And, you know, I'm glad at least, you know, the fact that I had these, you know, moments of issues and challenges that occurred on my treatment plan. I'm glad at least that I was able to share my experience and hopefully help someone else on the journey as well. Like I said, there's a lot involved in this. Your treatment plan, by the way, covers all of this. So it's not like you go do an IPR or you do something else, teeth cleaning or something, you have to pay extra. Everything is included. So, you know, that's also so great. I mean, obviously it's an expensive treatment, so it's kind of to be expected, but at the same time, it does give you that sense of security knowing that, you know, everything you need is right there, it's sorted, and someone's looking after you constantly. So there we go. Like I said, there's a lot that was covered in this. It's likely I missed some stuff, so if there's anything you feel like I haven't addressed or haven't addressed in enough depth, feel free to contact me, and I would love to have a chat about this. It's always, you know, makes you feel a little bit better when you're going through this with someone else, I guess. So there we go, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you, I guess, in the next edition.